technical difficulties, which happen when you go live, when you do live. That Shotgun was talking about how I used to watch and really take the game in to try to pick up signs, steal signs for the opposition. Can't do that anymore. You can't do it anymore unless you're an electrician and you can tap into the electronics. But whatever. I want to say hello to Hacienda Casablanca out there. All of you, please send in your comments, because as you can see, Boomer Wells is with us. He joined us as we were having technical difficulties. But so the world's changed since I saw you last, big fella. No more COVID masks. The lockout's over. The market's finally in a downturn. What's up with you?
I'm in a free state. I'm out in Florida. I got the hell out of San Diego, or it still mandates with that jacked up governor you have out there, that tool. It's unbelievable. We got a great governor out here, Ron DeSantis. He's great. He doesn't put up with all the BS and all that kind of stuff. So it's nice, but it's starting to get hot out here. So my ass is leaving. I might come out and hang out in San Diego for a few weeks.
It's 82 degrees in Florida.
Yeah. It was raining yesterday, but today was really nice. It was a nice day. It was probably high 70s today, a little breeze, so it was good. I just got done with a golf tournament, little member guest. So we're leading the pack. We got one more outing tomorrow, and we should hopefully wrap it up.
So you threw in a Dirty Kurt's dugout. Yeah, I want to tell everybody now that didn't see the first episode a couple of years ago of Dirty Kurt's dugout. My guest was the one and only. You know, David, I got to ask you something. I noticed something very interesting in Baseball Reference about you.
Uh-oh.
Greg, it is an uh-oh. Greg Clifton was your agent.
Yes.
All right.
Still a good friend.
And then Greg Clifton / Nina Wells, the former Nina Fisher, became your agent. And it's no coincidence, folks, that Nina Wells is Boomer's beautiful wife. But tell me what the deal is with that. So Nina became your agent along with Greg, who was an old friend.
Still is a friend, but we just went through a transition. It was the end of my career. We're like, you know what? She goes, I could do this. So I'm like, all right. So I talked to Greg. Greg's like, fine, no problem. And we did it. So, and I signed back with the Padres, and Kevin Towers got really nasty and crafty with Nina, and it sent her in a downward spiral. I had to bring Greg back in, but it was bad. Kevin did. That was very cool what Kevin did. And you know, but you know, you got to look at it as a business. And he tried to force her hand and just intimidated the hell out of her. And you know, but you know, my wife, she's a tough cookie. She's a hard worker. She's very intelligent. She understands the business to a certain extent. But we're like, what the hell? Let's just try it. You know, it's probably my last year or two, and I ended up playing 3 more years after that. So I ended up getting back with Greg and working on some stuff, and we ended up having 3 good years out of it.
Can you imagine with the nasty stuff that was said about players in arbitration, what her reaction would have been if she would have went to an arbitration hearing for you?
Dude, it would have been, yeah, that's not a place for women. I don't think that's a women. You know how dirty it gets in there.
Oh, boy.
Dirty Kurt's dugout.
With Boomer. Oh, there you go.
There you
don't
go.
have a little connection issue. It looked like we rebooted. I think we're going to have problems during this podcast for whatever reason. We've never had these problems before. I want to say hello to everybody that's tuning in. Welcome to Dirty Kurt's Dugout. Of course, Boomer Wells is my guest. So talk to me about what's going on in the game.
Well, this new guy that they got in is pretty absurd. The stuff that he's doing and changing the game around. And since he took
a new guy, what do you mean? You mean Freeman, Freddie Freeman with the Dodgers? Who's the new guy?
No, Manfred, that toolbox.
Oh, the commissioner.
Yeah, the commissioner. So ever since he came in and started messing around with the game, I have not watched baseball in 3 years. I don't understand it. I don't get it. The integrity of the game is, to me, is going the opposite direction. I'm sure all the baseball greats, Babe Ruth, Tiger, all those guys are probably turning in their grave, with some of the stuff that this guy's implementing and all that. And and don't get me wrong, I'll probably come back to the game when he leaves. I'll probably come back into the game and watch it and take part of it. But it's just really tough to watch baseball right now, just because I was brought up. I followed in your footsteps, in your era. So to me, that was a game. And before your era, that was a game. We did it. It's like, if you're going to pick signs, there was guys out there who made a living on picking up pitchers. That was their job, and like you said earlier, you can't pick signs unless you see a guy tipping, and Kirk Gibson was really, really great at picking pitchers off and knowing what they're throwing, depending on where their glove was or their angles and certain pitches, if they wiggled their glove or they tilted it, whatever, tilted it, did whatever. But to me, like you said, that was part of the game. And, but the thing is, if you caught a guy doing it, you just put one in his ear hole, and that's just the way it was, but to me, it's like, you can't pitch inside anymore, and some of these umpires, they don't let you play and they bitch and complain about speeding the game up. Well, it's easy. Call balls and strikes, call a strike a strike. And do that. But then when you get into these extra inning games, I don't know, last year, whatever, I was in San Diego and I was at Pamplemousse, great restaurant. If nobody's ever been there, go look up Jeffrey Strauss. He's a great chef. And I was at the bar with a buddy of mine, Chuck Smith, watching the game because it was on. And it was extra innings and they put a guy on second base. I'm like, did the guy get a double? Did I miss something? And he goes, no. He goes, that's the new rules. I said, get out of here. They put a guy on second base now. I said, I looked at him. I go, well, that's not very good for the pitcher because his ERA is going to go skyrocketing. So it hurts certain players, pitchers, relief pitchers, if they give up a couple runs because it tacks on their ERA and all that. So I'm just looking at this, Kurt, going, what the hell are they doing? The analytics of the game is crazy. These guys are looking in their hat, looking at these numbers. I'm like, what is that? I understand the shift. The shift is fine, but not all this other crap. And it just kind of really turned me off about the game.
Well, they turned the shift. The shift's being reversed. You can't shift after the 2022 season. And the guy on second base is back. So any extra inning games, the guy that made the last out is going to be the runner at second base. That's back in. And for people wondering out there, it is not an earned run for the pitcher that's on the mound.
Oh, well, that's nice. God, gee, I mean, that's very, very kind of them, huh? It's like,
Camille Lynn joining us for the first time. I love it. She wants to know what about making the bases bigger? I don't have an answer for you. Maybe David does.
I mean, anything, if it's from what I've heard, I think they were going to make the bases a little bit bigger, I guess, because of the fact that guys are getting hurt, especially when it's like a little wet out. Guys are slipping, jacking their legs or ankles up or something like that. So I think that I heard something like that like a year or so. Pat Henkin told me about that. And I'm just like, anything they do, I mean, that's fine. If you're going to make the base bigger, then you might as well make the field a little bit bigger because, towards the end of my career, the parks were getting
really
small.
Can't see. I really can't see how having bigger bases is going to prevent injuries.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. But if that's what they're going to do, that wouldn't bother me. Making a bigger base, that wouldn't bother me. Because then that would, I guess, that would get rid of the bang bang. Because now if they're bigger, then it's a base hit. Because bang bang plays, if the base is a little bit bigger, he's going to be safe.
An inch or so.
Yeah.
So the runner is going to be able to reach the base sooner as he's going from home to first, and he's going to be able to get back into the bag if he's leading off of first base on a steal a little bit quicker. Is it going to make a huge difference? Of course not. It's not going to make a huge difference. But on a bang bang play, if he gets the tip of his fingers or the oven mitt that they use nowadays back into first base, it is going to make a difference on a guy being safe. So is it going to add great numbers to stolen bases? There's no way. It's just not going to. These guys spend way too much time locked in a room trying to figure out little tiny things that aren't going to make that big a deal. But then they make it a big deal when it comes out, and it's pissing everybody out there off. That's for sure. I mean, you see the comments you'll see the comments come in as we progress during the show. So for all you people out there, make your comments, make your case. If you think that the new rulings are something that shouldn't be there and that they're just making changes to make changes.
I think they're all in that back room drinking the bong water is what they're doing.
So you win 20 games for the Blue Jays in what, 2000? Right.
2000, yeah.
You pitch a perfect game.
98.
For the New York Yankees in 1998. Do you have look how high you are.
Look at that.
Could you jump that high? There's no way you can jump that high now.
Dude, back in the day, I can one step and slam dunk. I had some vertical.
So is that your biggest thrill in the game?
I mean, yeah, it is. I mean, obviously, you play to go to the World Series and do that. That was great. But in Toronto, it just didn't feel – it was great to win a World Series. But, when you don't feel like you're really part of the team, you're doing your stuff. And back then, I mean, that's my own, version of it. And I've had debates with people on that, especially people in Toronto. But, we had such a good team. But I just did not enjoy the front office of the Blue Jays. I enjoyed my team, the city. It's great. But, until I threw that perfect game, it blew that 92 World Series out of the water because it was just, I did my part in that game, but I had the other guys behind me making great plays and doing that. And, there's only 23 of us in the history to do it. So, yeah. But that 98 World Series was pretty special, too.
So, again, Hacienda Casablanca, David eats at Pamplemousse up in North County, and I'll go in there every once in a while when I've saved money for about 4 years.
No. You want to go somewhere better? Go to Hodad's in OB, dude.
Oh,
Best
yeah.
burger in the world. Best burger in the world.
Well, Hodad's is always out on the golf course during your golf tournaments.
And you know how good they are.
You also go to Hacienda Casablanca in El Cajon, 700 North Johnson. I also want to send a shout out to Tom Drake, your neighborhood Chevron dealers, for the card that they provide us so we can give them to you on our trivia question. So listen carefully because you don't know what question that we're going to pull out of the air. So when you look back on things and see the number of games that you've won and just where you are in the history of the sport, you got to be a pretty proud guy.
I am. There's no doubt. I mean, I had a great career. I mean, I enjoyed my career. The competition was just so good because when you're pitching against these teams in the American League East that were, just studs. The Red Sox. You look at Cleveland Indians, who scored over 1,000 runs. That's pretty tough to do during a season because they had such a tremendous offense. But to pitch against teams like that was phenomenal to me because that puts me on the map as a pitcher getting these guys out. When you're doing it on a regular basis and putting, winning streaks against certain clubs that are good hitting clubs, that raises eyebrows because then now you're a wanted man. Because if there's free agent, and you're like, for me, I was a Yankee killer.
So you can see they don't have good internet.
What's that?
I was just telling you froze for a minute. So I was telling the people that the ocean in Clearwater, Florida doesn't have good internet.
I'm at my son's condo. He's up at school right now. So I get some peace and quiet over here tonight. But no, I mean, internet's good here. It's on your side, to be honest with you. But, my career was great. Here's the biggest part of my career that really irks me is I come up as a starter and I had 2 starts and I lost against the Yankees. And my debut was against Ron Guidry, my idol. And they were in first place in the American League East. And Kansas City Royals was in first place in the Central. So my first 2 starts were against those 2 guys, and I lost 2. And I get sent back down, and then they bring me back up as a reliever. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm a starter. So I had to go through that whole routine. Then you get in a doghouse. You don't pitch for 20 days. And then they expect miracles out of you instead of just leaving me as a starter. So 6 years, I sat in that bullpen in Toronto for 6 years. So so you tell me in 6 years as a starter, how many wins do you think you would get in 6 years? At least 10 a year, right? If not more.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, I didn't even realize that.
That puts me over 300 wins. If they would have just left me as a starter. That's the only thing that pisses me off about the game is Toronto did that. And that's something because that's cool to be in the 300 club. Perfect game club is awesome, but to be in the 300 win club would be even better.
Well, it might put you in the Hall of Fame.
It's probably a guarantee, but but I did have the stats to do it. But that's another thing, Kurt. With all this analytics going on, these guys going 4 innings, and now it's a quality start, I guess, maybe. But who the hell are they going to put in the Hall of Fame in the next 10, 15 years in baseball? Pitchers. Who are they going to put in the Hall of Fame? There's not any.
I don't see any starting pitch.
You're right. And it's going to be crazy because to me, there's nobody there. You're not going to have
unless Kershaw, Max Scherzer is probably going to go in. Leftover. I know we keep rebooting, but everything's going good though.
No, it is. And those are the guys. CC, Scherzer, Verlander, Kershaw has a good chance. But to me, it's like, other than that, who are they going to put in? So for pitching wise. So it might give leeway to the guys. Tommy John should be in the Hall of Fame. You look at Louis Tiant, should be in the Hall of Fame. There's a lot of guys that should be in the Hall of Fame. Jim Cott. Did Jim Cott get in finally?
Yes.
Okay. So
he did.
So hell yeah, he should be in. So you look at that. So maybe that might be an introduction for these guys by the committee. And hopefully the committee looks at these guys and gets them in, because I don't see anybody going into the Hall of Fame in the next 10, 15 years from this day and age, because they just don't have the credentials, the innings, the shutouts, the CGs, the strikeouts might be there, but maybe not. Who knows? It's crazy.
Which might throw your name in there in the next 10 years or so.
They're
going to run out of pitchers to put in the Hall of Fame.
No, and if they do, great. But to me, if it never happens, I had fun. I had a great career. I only had, like I said, I only had that one complaint. But other than that, it was fun to compete. against guys, especially that guy called Mo Vaughn, because he owned my ass. I couldn't get him out. I love him to death, but just what a great hitter he was. And he hit lefties better than anybody.
Isn't it weird the way you can have a problem with one or two hitters?
Oh, my God. It stunk. Like lefties, I'm supposed to get out. Kenny Lofton hit me pretty good. Jet Griffey Jr. hit me pretty good. But like Jim Thome
Pretty good.
owned him. Wade Boggs, Don Mattingly, I did very well against them. But that guy Mo Vaughn I think he hit $1 million off me.
You know, Dave, I really appreciate you coming on. I know you rushed after your golf tournament down in Florida. Hey, good luck tomorrow. Hit him straight, and hopefully we'll see each other soon. When you get out here, give me a holler.
No, I would love to. I'll be there in June. But let's get a petition and try to get this Manfred guy out of there. He's ruining the game of baseball.
Okay, wait a minute. So Tom Zacco, one of the listeners, just came up with something that I got to check with you. Because can you read that across your screen?
I don't know, man.
It says while on the Dodgers.
While on the Dodgers, Dave once beat out a bunt for a base hit. Yes, I did.
Yes, I did.
And I remember that. Yes, I did. That fat SOB could get down the line a little bit. Even though I was a big guy, I could still run, and I did beat it out. So that was a proud moment for me.
So was it an actual bunt for a base hit that you tried?
Yes, it was. I think it was Al Fonseca. I bunted down to third, and I just beat it out. I pulled my quad, but it was all right. I pulled my right quad. I couldn't. So I go out there after we got out, I went on the mound. So I was doing my warm-ups. I couldn't lift up my right leg. I can only lift it maybe a half an inch. I'm like, what? So what's wrong with my leg? I couldn't move it. So I slide stepped, and I beat them. I beat the Mets. So it was great. I slide stepped everything.
You went 4 or 5-1 your last year with the Dodgers.
I did. I tried.
You were done. So take that, Toronto.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So, but to me, it was like I tried to play after that, but nobody would give me a jersey. They ripped the jersey off my back, Kurt.
Yeah. What about Andrew Miller? You know, he served on the Players Executive Board for this recent negotiation, and he was a free agent. Got no phone calls. He just retired. Is this actually the bunt base hit?
Probably.
Probably. It's in a Dodger uniform.
Is that Shea Stadium?
You know what? I think it is.
Yeah, then that was off Al Fonseca. Yeah. The guy had 6 fingers and 6 toes. That guy. So yeah.
Now, I don't know where producer Joe came up with that shot, but that's pretty good right there.
You know what?
I always see
when you got great stat mastersons, they can pull up anything.
Yeah, I can see that.
Oh yeah.
But as usual, I want to thank you. I hope your move down to Florida is a good one. I know that. You've been there about.
I got here January. I got here January last year.
Okay.
So I've been here for a little over a year, but I came back last May to pack my house up and moved out to Florida. So.
Well, I hope you like it. Now, you get a little too hot. It must be like 80, right?
Yeah, I like it until the summertime, and then I get the hell out of Dodge. Too hot.
All righty. Well, before we lose everything on here, I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to say goodbye to all the folks that watch this show. Thanks, David. Thank you for joining us, and we'll do it again sometime.
Anytime, man. I love talking with you and going back and bringing stuff up and giving good stories to your viewers and your listeners. It's great. I love it. Thank you.
Give me a holler when you get out to San Diego, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Cheers.
Thank you.
All right, man.
Okay, everybody, here's the deal. Before we go off the air again, I'm just going to end it. Don't forget the Lacima Oil trivia question, Chevron, with watching today's show with what David said, watching the show on Wednesday with what Steve Garvey said. Tune in. What I'm going to try to do for next Wednesday's show, and it might not be until next Friday, but I'm going to try to put together a panel of former players, because I promised you all a breakdown of the new collective bargaining agreement and what it means. Not only what it means for the players that are active, but what it means for the former players, the inactive players, the players that are on pension benefits, and whether or not they were increased. So I'm going to try to get a panel of those guys. And when I say a panel, where you look up and you see the Zoom type calls that we saw during the pandemic, where there are all of these people on the screen. That's what I want to have. So I'm going to go to producer Joe, try to figure it out where we can do that for you. People from different eras asking questions and wanting to know what this new collective bargaining agreement did for them. Because there's a lot of players out there in different classes. And it's confusing. It really is. Hacienda Casablanca, Tony and Cindy, thank you very much. 700 North Johnson. If you want a great Mexican meal, go and see him. If you want a nice cold beer, go and see him. And go to the Chevron station on Balboa and Genesee and fill up your tank if you're going to fill it up anywhere, and participate in one of my sponsors' business, and that's Lacima Oil's Tom Drake down on Balboa and Genesee. I know he has 3 or 4 other stations, but we'll let you know where they are too. But don't forget the trivia question. And I don't have the card to show you because Tom hadn't sent it to me yet. But I want to thank everybody for watching. Chili, Tiffany, thank you. And, of course, Terrence Morgan up in L.A. He was the first guy. Before we even went off, he was the first. I knew it was going to happen again. I don't know why that's doing that. I don't even know if you guys are seeing it. But I'm seeing it here. I'm seeing the screen go blank with the little rebooting thing happening. And I don't want that to happen anymore, especially if you guys are seeing it. But Luke Voigt, the guy acquired by the Padres from the Yankees, called Yankee Stadium a doghouse. And he's not talking about being in the doghouse, because he was treated well by fans in New York. He's talking about just calling the ballpark a doghouse. That's what he said. You know, there were supposed to be 3 guys that were supposed to vie for the 5th starting spot here in San Diego for the Padres. And that was Chris Paddack, Weathers, and Nick Martinez. Well, Paddack and Weathers got blown out by Martinez in his first start, as Paddack gave up a home run and Weathers gave up a couple in their outings. Nick Martinez pitched really well. His second start of the spring is tonight against the Dodgers down in Glendale. And we'll see what happens. Julio Urias, or Urias, however you want to say it, is on the mound for the Dodgers. The game's probably going to be televised, so it'll be something to watch tonight. And there's a couple of guys swinging the bat pretty good in the Padre camp, and that's C.J. Abrams, who is vying for a spot. We all know, we've heard about this kid. He's one of the top prospects in baseball. Well, he's hitting over 400 with a couple of dongs, and he actually lost one day when the umpire made a wrong call. He hit a home run, and the umpire called a foul. I'm going by what has been said out of the Padre camp, and naturally, there's two sides to each story. But they swear that the ball was fair. You know what? I can believe it, and it's no big deal. I'm not calling the ump out for it. The Arizona sky in the spring, folks, is a tough sky to see a baseball sometimes. And sometimes you lose them. They talk about a high sky. Well, Arizona's got a high sky. The other guy swinging the bat is in the lineup tonight, Jorge Alfaro. He's got a couple of home runs also. He's in the DH role, of course, the catcher. And we'll see what happens as the spring progresses. Remember, it's not, and their home opener is April 14th. So again, for all of you that tuned in and watched, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. We'll be back here next Wednesday, same time, same station, hopefully with better technical knowledge of what's going on, because we had a tough day today with our wireless connection. So hopefully we'll get that straightened out for you, and we will see you next time. So until then, thank you, everybody.